Hi, I'm Alex Archbold, and I've been buying and selling antiques since I was 9 years old. From basements to scrapyards, I'll look just about anywhere I can to find lost antiques and collectibles. And sometimes I'll go big and buy everything. I never know what's going to happen or who I'm going to meet. This is our life, this is our adventure, and this is Curiosity Inc. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I have been working away on the Daimler. I've not got it running yet because I'm stalled right now with the situation. As you can see, the Daimler is floating on jack stands, and that's because I took the wheels in to go get new tires. The trouble is, the car has split rims on it, and a couple of the rings, the retainer rings, have sprung a little bit, which means they came out of form a tiny bit. And the technicians are not comfortable putting them back on. I can't get new rims for it. The bolt pattern only lines up with an implement wheel. It's a 6x6 inch bolt center, which is really weird. Anyway, for those of you that know wheels, you know that stuff. So I have to find a way to repair the existing rims because I don't have any other options. So I'm gonna go by the shop this morning, pick up the sprung retainer rings and take them into a blacksmith and hope that they can heat and reform and retension possibly, or repair the rings that are on there to a point where they can be used again. So I've got to go by, pick up the parts, and go find a blacksmith. The joys of old car ownership to try and do that. In the meantime, I'm taking the Citroen out on its inaugural, another little highway run here, and I'm gonna try and get an exhaust put on this car while I've got it out too. So lots to do today. We're gonna go hit the road. Let's get started by going to pick up the rings from Cal Tire, and we'll go find a blacksmith. Let's go. Incidentally, before I take off in the Citroen, you'll notice that I got the glass that came in. The grill on the bottom is back on and not damaged. And generally I'm getting stuff kind of cleaned up on the car. Oh yeah, also I put a trunk liner in the back the other day. I had saved the old Mustang trunk liner and I just reused that, cut it to shape and put that in. So things are coming along. Really the only thing left I have to do on this is side trim for the bottom, little rocker panel covers, and interior. But it's coming along anyway. Enough that I can take it for a ride. But anyway, enough yakking, let's go. Okay, I made my first stop this morning at the blacksmith, and he has the rings for the car, hoping that we're gonna be able to get those hammered back into shape. In the meantime, I've got the Citroen in, getting the exhaust put on. I noticed the other day when I was working on it that right at the tail end, the exhaust had a bunch of holes in it, and you really don't want that for a lot of reasons, but the main one is I don't want that exhaust escaping back into the cabin. That'd be a problem. So I'm gonna walk, go get myself something to eat, and hopefully by the time I'm done, they'll have most of the exhaust done. Exhaust actually doesn't take all that long on a car. It's a car kind of day. Okay, I got the tires on the car. Got the jack stands lowered down. Now, if you guys watch my channel, you know that my wife, Melissa, for years, as long as we've been married for, occasionally we'll jump out and surprise and go, try and scare me. Well, I'm filling up the tires with air, and I've just gone through this whole thing in my head of like, they call them the Widowmaker, and it could take your head off. Anyway, so I'm like kind of leaning out of the way when I'm filling it up. So maybe, you know, at that exact moment, I'm filling up the air and I'm thinking, listen for any weird sounds. If it goes, you might lose your hand. Like, I'm seriously having these thoughts, which is ridiculous, but because I'm sure they're fine. But anyway, you know how you get yourself worked up in your head sometimes? At the exact moment, Melissa decides that's the time, that's the opportunity she wants to jump in the garage and scare me. My soul left my body. What a brat. Anyway, I did get the wheels all on and everything. And yeah, so there's tires on the car. I'm gonna tighten them up now that it's on the ground and then put the hubcaps back on and get the vehicle taken off to Sovereign Automotive probably tomorrow. So that was my job today, and then tomorrow, well, maybe later today, I've got to figure out how to haul this thing out. I might hook up my lawn tractor and tow it out. We'll see. I'll figure some creative solution out. You guys will be along for the ride. I'll film it, whatever it is. I guess stay tuned for that. Okay, the first thing I had to do before hauling this car out was to clear the way for it. So there's nothing blocking the way. And I'm gonna have to go extra slow through this doorway because it's not a very big garage door, just wide enough for that car to go in and out. And a little to the left or a little to the right could really screw things up. So I am gonna use my lawnmower. I think I'm gonna back it up and hook up some tow ropes to it and very gently start to tow it backwards. Probably not something I should be doing by myself, but that's what's happening today. Well, prepare for one of the more possibly stupid things I've done. I've got it hooked up to the back bumper. Brackets look solid. I'm gonna give it a try. I'm having to get out and steer every so often, and I'm going slow because it's little micro adjustments to make it fit through that door. It's a little tight on this side right now, so I gotta crank the wheel the other way. Lawnmower is actually working pretty good. I've just stopped to make sure that it is nice and straight. I'll have to watch that side a little bit, but I think it's good to go straight out right now. I am unhitched from my little green tow truck, and the car is outside. I blocked the wheel because it started rolling back and I had to stick my hand back on it to prevent it from, rolling me over. It is looking pretty stately. Get a tow truck called out here and get this off to the shop. Well, there it is, all loaded up on its way to the shop, and hopefully it will be driving itself back home. So the Daimler has definitely been gone a while. In fact, it was gone for 4 months, 3 or 4 months. And geez, has it been 3 or 4 months? I guess it has been. I mean, it was nice out when I hauled it out of here on the lawnmower, but you'll notice that snow has fallen. It's December, it's getting closer to Christmas, and the car is back. What were they able to accomplish at the shop? Nothing! They did nothing to it. I'm laughing, but I took it there 4 months ago. Basically, I just wanted them to wire up an electric fuel pump on it. They couldn't find anybody to work on it. So I'm taking on the job of doing it myself. They actually phoned me and they said, we don't have anybody to do this. None of our mechanics want to work on it. Must be nice to be picky. So it should be a pretty easy job, but I've run into a couple issues already. So there is my mechanical pump that, although I rebuilt it, it's not pumping properly. So I think that there's a little arm inside, a lever that touches on the cam, and I think that that's a little worn. Hopefully not the cam, but that's worn. I mean, the engine starts fine if I prime the carbs, so I think the engine is good. In fact, it sounds really good. So I'm putting on this electric fuel pump. I've got it grounded, and I just need to get power to it. This is where I'm at right now. It's on, I've got it plumbed. I need to get power to it. The trouble that I'm having is that this line, this red line, I had it attached to the coil thinking, okay, when I turn the ignition on, the coil will be energized and I can run power to it, then the pump will go when I turn the key on. Perfect, right? No dice. When I have it hooked to my battery charger, and it's on 20 amps, it pumps just fine. But when I have it hooked to the coil, nothing. I even ran a hot lead directly to my fuse panel, nothing. I connected it to the starter there, just see, because that basically comes straight off the battery, nothing. So for whatever reason, this little electric fuel pump is not getting enough power from my vehicle, and I'm kind of in a quandary. I don't exactly know why right now. It should be really easy. Like, I should just be able to run the power lead to the power of the coil, turn the key on. That should make the pump start pumping, and vroom vroom. But alas, it's not doing that. So I'm just gonna make sure I've got the key off, because I was fiddling around with this earlier. Yes, the key is off. I will approach that another day. That'll be a problem in the future. The reason I'm not gonna continue on with that today is that I had another project on the go. As you can see, the Citroën is floating in the air. It looks like a Back to the Future kind of spaceship car. In fact, they did use the Citroën DS in Back to the Future Part 2. My least favorite of the Back to the Futures, where they go to the future. But my friend Scott, who I've not had on an episode yet, but he's actually a bigger car enthusiast than me. Scott, thank you if you're watching this. Was able to get some brand new tires put on for the Citroën, and I've got to put those back on so I can lower the car back down. Turns out the tires I had on the car were from 1987. So yeah, speaking of Back to the Future, those need to go back to the past, and we'll get this car up and running. But I have been polishing it and detailing it, and it's looking really nice. My interior is all in and looking fantastic. So tires were on my bucket list of things that had to get done, though that is at least happening here anyway. You'll also notice that there's less cars in the garage than usual. There's actually an empty space over there. I don't know how recently you've watched. Look, my son can actually park his Mini in here right now. Steven did have an older Mercedes, but we ended up selling that because it was just a little hard on gas. So we wanted all-wheel drive for him for winter, so we got that. The MASH Metropolitan. That's doing the MASH, the Monster MASH. The Monster Nash sold at auction a while ago. The Mustang is gone, and the Porsche is out getting some oil leaks mended and taken care of. So actually, the fleet is kind of looking, it's basically just down to these two vehicles and the Daimler right now, which is enough anyway. So I'm trying to get some things taken care of, trying to get some things resolved that I've been wanting to get resolved, like getting the wheels put back on the car. Luckily, the Jag doesn't really need much of anything, so it can kind of just hang out there until summer comes around. But next up, we'll be getting the wheels back on the Citroën. And then after I get that done, I'll wrap my head around the power delivery issue that I'm having on the Daimler and try and figure out exactly why that little fuel pump isn't working. Could be a faulty pump, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to dig into a little bit more. But if I can just get fuel to flow from the back to the front, this will be a drivable vehicle. It's so very close. It's so close to being done that I really shouldn't just give up on it. But my brain is on this car. I just, I don't have the willpower to work on it, even though I have been. I don't know. It's a big lump that's in the way right now. It's a pretty lump. It's a cool looking car. And I do actually like the black walls on the car better than the whites. And you might say, oh no, it was better with the white walls. Very few British cars actually had wide white walls. That's more of a North American thing. Unless you're looking at like a 1920s or 30s car, maybe they would have splashed for that. But really, black walls were kind of the norm. I don't know why. Maybe it's the smaller roads. Maybe it's, hitting the curb more often. Who knows? But wide whites weren't really common. And this car actually wasn't delivered new with wide white walls. So that going to the black is actually more appropriate for the vehicle. In fact, the whole car should be black, or the Royal Claret color, which it's either going to be back to black or back to burgundy. I don't know which. We'll think of some fun solution for that perhaps down the road if I still am in love with the car come springtime. Oh yeah, we still do have the Volkswagen bus, the Westphalia. That is at the shop because the transmission went kaplooey on it, and we're gonna get that fixed up. But anyway, less talk, more work. Gonna get the wheels put on the car. For those of you that are kind of into cars, you'll know this is a weird looking rim. Most rims have a perfectly round spot right in the middle, which makes it easy to balance, etc. This has a little bolt-on section there, and that's actually to secure the hubcap so it doesn't go flying off. Like, they're probably like, you know what, hubcaps are prone to coming off. Our solution is we will bolt the hubcap right to the center of the rim. It's also a lug-centric, which means that the weight of the vehicle rests on the lugs, not on the hub, as most wheels do. So when this goes on the vehicle, I have to make sure it's lined up really good and put in place. You'll notice it's a little bit shinier black around the edges. Well, that's because it was worn away from the hubcap, probably shifting a little bit. And I just put some fresh black paint down there just to, more of a rust preventative measure than anything. Anyway, it's going to be nice to have black walls back on this car. That's what it's meant to have. So I'm going to get busy and get the first one put on. Wheels are on. I just have to torque them. There's a real trick to getting the back tires on. If you have one of these cars or have a car with fender skirts, it can be a challenge. But with a Citroen like this, because it has a hydraulic rear end, you can actually just elevate the entire car up. Because when this goes down to the lower mode, this will come down to about there. It doesn't normally sit like this. That's probably 2 feet of clearance in the back here. Look, there's my foot. That's a size 12 right there. That's almost 2 of those. So it's almost 2 feet of clearance in the back with it in the highest position. That's enough to drive over many French fallen telephone poles and make your way to safety. I'm gonna get this torqued up before the suspension lowers itself, because it will automatically lower itself, and get my hubcaps on while it's nice and easy peasy. So with that, all of that, months of waiting and working, I'm not really much farther ahead on the Daimler than I was before. Tires are on, the hubcaps are cleaned up, and the car generally is looking good. But it's still not a runner, unless I put gas in the carbs, and it runs just fine. So I'll have to get back to tinkering on that at some point. In the meantime, though, I'm making small improvements, like getting the tires on the Citroen. You can see there's no more white walls, and I think that's a vast improvement. Also gave me a chance to polish the car, to get the hubcaps all cleaned up nice. It's actually looking pretty good. So I don't know what's going to be next for me. I guess I probably should try and take some time to figure out what's going on with the Daimler. The only thing I did on it since I showed you last, well, the door, we know we got that working. But the interior, cleaned it up a little bit, got a little British flag out there so you can wave it at the people as you pass by. Hello! It's turned into Dame Edna when I think about driving in this car. Anyway, I even found an original antique 1940s flag for the front. So it has a flag back on the flagstaff on the front there. And yeah, generally it's not a bad car, it just needs finishing. So some small steps taken forward, maybe a couple steps taken back. Fuel pump is still driving me crazy. And I always think to myself, I shouldn't try and reinvent the wheel. I should just maybe take a second look at the pump that's meant to be on the car, the mechanical pump. Even though with the rebuild it's not working, maybe I can find one new old stock somewhere, who knows. So I'll do a little investigating and see what I can come up with. But for now, that's it for the car stuff. Daimler's back home. The Jag and the Citroen are here, and they are looking shiny and nice and pleased. And I'm just sorting and going through stuff in the vacant space, which will eventually have my hoist and lift put in there at some point in the next month or so. But guys, it was just sort of a short car update. I thought I'd give you guys a little info on what was going on around here. Stay tuned for more videos, more adventures, and more fun. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you all soon. And as always, bye for now.